Tasmai guna swaya. Dado tulyam paharshita. Saha, he, Emperor Manu. Anu, afterward. Gyatva, having known. Vyabhasitam, the fixed decision. Mahishyaha, of the queen. Duhita, Duhitu, of his daughter. Sputam, clearly. Tasmai, to him. Gunagana Ahadyaya, who was endowed with a host of virtues. Dado, gave away. Tulyam, who was equal in good qualities. Paharshitaha, extremely pleased. Translation. After having unmistakably known the decision of the queen, as well as that of Devahuti, the emperor most gladly gave his daughter to the sage, whose host of virtues was equaled by hers. And then text 23, I'll just read it through the Sanskrit. Satarupa Maharagi Paribarham Mahadanan Dhammapatyad Paryadat Pritya Bhushadvasa Parichatim Jadan Satarupa, Empress Satarupa. Maharajni, the Empress. Paribarham, dowry. Mahodandan, Mahadanan, valuable presents. Tam Pratyo, to the bride and bridegroom. Paryadat, gave. Pritya, out of affection. Bhushad, ornaments. Vasaha, clothes. Parichadhan, articles for household use. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Empress Shatarupa lovingly gave most presents suitable for the occasion, such as jewelry, clothes, and household articles, in dowry to the bride and bridegroom. Purport. The custom of giving one's daughter in charity with a dowry is still current in India. The gifts are given according to the position of the father of the bride. Paribarhan Mahadhanan means the dowry which must be awarded to the bridegroom at the time of marriage. Here, Mahadhanan means greatly valuable gifts, befitting the dowry of an empress. The words Bhusha Vasaha Parichardan also appear here. Bhusha means ornaments, Vasa means clothing, and Parichadan means various household articles. All things befitting the marriage ceremony of an emperor's daughter were awarded to Kardama Muni, who was until now observing celibacy as a brahmachari. The bride, Devahuti, was very richly dressed with ornaments and clothing. In this way, Kardama Muni was married with full opulence to a qualified wife and was endowed with the necessary paraphernalia for household life. In the Vedic way of marriage, such a dowry is still given to the bridegroom by the father of the bride. Even in poverty-stricken India, there are marriages where hundreds and thousands of rupees are spent for a dowry. The dowry system is not illegal, as some have tried to prove. The dowry is a gift given to the daughter by the father to show goodwill, and it is compulsory. In rare cases where the father is completely unable to give a dowry, it is enjoined that he must at least give a fruit and a flower. As stated in Bhagavad Gita, God can be pleased even by a fruit and flower. When there is financial inability and no question of accumulating a dowry by another means, one can give a fruit and flower for the satisfaction of the bridegroom. Verse again. Empress Shatarupa lovingly gave most valuable presents, suitable for the occasion, such as jewelry, clothes and household articles, in dowry, to the bride and bridegroom. It's a common thing in that part of the world to give substantial dowries. Sometimes people are even known to go into considerable debt to give a very opulent dowry to the bride and bridegroom. Sometimes it happens. In a way, this is just part of what is known as etiquette or proper behavior for Brahmins or anybody. But it is obligatory. Also, it is said that anyone who's an unwanted guest should be given facility. An unwanted guest is called atiti. There was a king, this is described in the Bhagavatam, King Rati, who fasted for a long, long time. And just as he was about to break his fast, some beggars appeared. One of them, we found out later that one of them was Vishnu, one of them was Shiva, and one of them was Brahma. So instead of eating or breaking his fast, he gave his upcoming fast-breaking food to the atiti, to the uninvited guests. And for this reason, he is glorified for his charity. Charitableness is a very proper form of etiquette, and it's very essential in Krishna consciousness. As it is said, even if a person is very poverty-stricken, if he is able to give a fruit, a flower, and a water as a dowry, that can be accepted. So, spiritual master is required to give a dowry of sorts in the way of instruction to his disciples. On Janmashtami Day, on the 16th of August, 1968, in Montreal, it was the second Janmashtami that I experienced with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada was in the habit of asking people on this special day to give to speak to the audience, the whole audience, what was their realizations of Krishna consciousness. At that time, the temple in Montreal was a former bowling alley. It was one flight upstairs, and it was a room about 4 or 5 times the size of this room. So a proper altar was built for Prabhupada, and so we all knew that we had to fast that day, and I knew it wasn't going to be easy, and I had a feeling that I was going to be called upon, but I wasn't called upon on the first Janmashtami, but I was frantically scribbling notes on a piece of paper, thinking of what I would say. But before that happened, some uninvited guests came. They were a group of women, about 12 of them. I think they were from Gujarat. So they were all dressed in their glittering Gujarati finery, and as an offering to Prabhupada on Janmashtami, they performed I don't know what it's called in Gujarat, but a kind of stick dance, we call it, stick dance, where they went around in a circle, and it was a very well choreographed dance, and it was their offering. And Prabhupada seemed to enjoy the offering, even though it was kind of an unethical and surprise visit. Prabhupada was very pleased, and he seemed to be smiling throughout the whole performance. I don't know where these people came from or where they even heard that there was Janmashtami going to be celebrated, because this place was a former bowling alley on Park Avenue. One flight up the stairs was on what in England they call the first floor. It's actually second floor in America. But anyway, he was very pleased, and at the end of the performance, he had a fairly lengthy conversation with these ladies, and I don't know if it was in Gujarati or Hindi or what it was, but I couldn't understand a single word of it, but I knew he was very pleased with their performance. So then that performance ended, and towards noontime, Prabhupada himself decided to chant. He was he was the pujari on that day. And so he chanted the samsara prayers in a different melody than what we're used to, because it was a different time of day. In that part of the world, there are different tunes or melodies, or ragas, chanted at different times of day. And it went something like this: Samsara dava naladida loka tranaya karuna gana ganatyam praptasya kalyuna gunarnavasya bande guru sri charanarvindam Mahaprabhu kirtana nitya gita baditra madhya manasura sena romanchakam pasu taranga bhajo bande guru sri charanarvindam. It was a great surprise to hear the Guru Vastak sung in that melody. But Prabhupada didn't announce it. He just launched into it, and everyone was very happy and pleased. And of course, it was accompanied by the usual mridangas and kartals. But it was an event that was very happy. So he asked several devotees to speak, and we kind of knew it was a special day. Some of the devotees complied, and some of them refused. The refusals were done by Saradya and Janaki. And then some people spoke, Gaur Sundar, Hansadutta, and others, they spoke. And I was writing my stuff down, and somehow or other, he didn't call on me. But the next day, which was Nandotsava, or Vyasa Puja, it was the first Vyasa Puja I experienced with Prabhupada. He was again calling on people. And this time, there was no escape. He called on me. And what I said was kind of lengthy, and it was sort of, it wasn't exactly spontaneous. It was kind of what I was writing down and taking notes on. I have a copy of what I said. This was said about 54 years ago, so I didn't remember everything, but I found it somewhere. And it went like this. Let me offer my respectful obeisances to our spiritual master, Swami Bhaktivedanta, who is dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter unto his lotus feet. The Krishna consciousness movement is intended to make a solution to our everyday problems. It's not a kind of place where people just come because there's some religious rites being performed. But everyone in this age is thinking that, quote, I am free, close quote, and actually I am not free. I am very bound up, very strictly bound up by the stringent laws of nature. In every status of life, I have to serve somebody or something, or my own body. In every status of life, I have to serve my wife, or I have to serve my children. I have to serve my pet. I have to serve my work, my boss, my associates. If I'm very wealthy, very elevated, or very beautiful physically, if I am born in an aristocratic family, I always have to serve somebody. If nothing else, one has to serve one's own stomach. I have to eat. I have to get food. I have to serve my stomach. So I am not free at all. I have to do these things. There's no way I can stop. If I don't eat, I will die. So our natural position as a living entity is that we have to serve something. Every living entity has to serve. That's our natural position. If something is wrong with my hand, and I want to be cured, I don't grab onto some foodstuff or some medicine, some herbs, and squeeze it with my hand and think that this hand is going to be cured. I take the medicine or the food through my mouth, and then it circulates through the digestive system and through the veins, and finally comes to the hand and can work its cure. So the hand, unless it's serving its source, then it's useless. The servant must serve its master, or the part must serve the whole. And our relationship with God is the same. Just like the hand is made out of bile, blood and air, flesh and bone, as all the body is, so similarly we're made out of spirit. Qualitatively the same as Krishna, but quantitatively many millions of times less. Qualitatively the same, quantitatively different. Fragmental portion. So, if we fragmental portions, separated parts and parcels, can serve the whole, or the whole Yeah, I don't know what I said there. Then we can be cured by this material disease, which is rampant nowadays. And this is possible only by mercy. By mercy alone, we can transcend this material existence and know that I am part and parcel of the Supreme, Krishna or God. And I can erase all of my karma, and I can erase all of my karma and situate myself in pure consciousness. But this consciousness cannot be purified unless there is mercy. And in this age, Kali Yuga, as we know, mercy is diminished to being almost non-existent. And Kali Yuga is just beginning. So if we can get some information about what I am, what is my position, and what is God, and how I am related to God, what is the world, then we're very fortunate. So by the mercy of the spiritual master, we can free ourselves from these stringent laws of nature and these unbreakable bonds. And only in this way, we can't free ourselves superficially or by our own mental invention. We can't just go out and sit and think and free ourselves from this material existence. We must be subject to our own bodily discomforts, our own mind, and we must be subject to the actions upon us of others, other living entities. And we must be subject to the laws of nature, to providence, to pestilence, famine, catastrophe. But if we can accept and hear submissively this teaching of Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita, from the bona fide spiritual master, then we are free immediately. We are in Vaikuntha. So we're very shocked and astonished that so many people are coming to the West, to the United States, and posing as holy men and simply making business. Charging money and giving somebody some magical formula whereby they can become God in half of a year. And so many people who are sincere seekers are being deluded, and this is very unfortunate. There is said to be two classes of men. One class of men is satisfied with his existence, goes from one pleasure to another, from one cinema to the restaurant to sports, from one to another. Open quote, I can't wait to finish one to go to the next, close quote. And still he's saying, quote, I'm happy, I am satisfied, close quote. And there's another class of men that is not satisfied. These men are searching, that there is something always on his mind. He is thinking, open quote, there must be something behind all of this, that I can look at all of this as unified whole. So this first class of men will not want to take to spiritual knowledge. But the person who is inquisitive is not satisfied with this material existence. He can hear this knowledge submissively and derive great benefit from it. The symptom of the human being is that he is not satisfied. He is disgusted. He's searching. The symptom of animal life is that he is satisfied, taking everything. Open quote, that's very nice. Everything is fine, close quote. Like a hog eating stool, he's thinking, open quote, oh, it's very nice, close quote. But the human being will still not accept such awful things. The human being has a chance to get out of this shackle of continued, repeated births and deaths. So simply by hearing the message of Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita and the names of Krishna diligently, submissively, and from the bona fide source, we can immediately get some relief from this material existence. Just like when we were chanting here, you could feel some ecstasy. Well, this ecstasy grows unlimitedly and infinitely, eternally. If one takes to it, it's not as if you reach some point of enlightenment and then you're enlightened. No, but it's always eternal, ever increasing. Just like the relationship between ourselves and our spiritual master is eternal and ever increasing. Our relationship with God is the same. So please try to realize this is a very serious movement And we're not asking you to sign up or to pay us anything, but simply to sincerely try it, and you'll immediately feel some benefit. Thank you. So that was what I said, not exactly spontaneously, but based on notes that were scribbled on a small piece of paper. And then Prabhupada was immediately searching for his next victim, so to speak. And one of them was Pradyumna. I don't know if you know who Pradyumna is, but he was one of the key Sanskrit translators of Prabhupada's works. And this is what he said. He was called on. He said, and this is a quote, "There is probably a movie which people have seen. It is called The Wizard of Oz." I don't know if some of you have seen this film. It was a child's film, The Wizard of Oz. It was based on a 1900 book called The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, written by a guy named Baum. Some of you have seen it. It's called The Wizard of Oz. And in this movie, there is a young girl that was played by, I think the actress's name was Judy Garland, and she was about 12 years old. At the end of the movie, she is asked what she learned on this trip. And she says, quote, "I was always looking for something, but I never found it. And now I know why. Because everything I was always looking for was always right in my own backyard. And it wasn't in my, and if it wasn't in my own backyard, it wasn't worth looking for anyway," close quote. So as Pradyumna continued, "So this is the condition of all living entities, that they have everything right within themselves in their own heart, that they have the capacity of all, that they all have the capacity for all the knowledge, whatever they could acquire, in all this world, and right beside them is Krishna, and they are trying to find it themselves." And another thing that she said, it's not what Pradyumna, that was where he ended his talk, and he was interrupted by Prabhupada, who was about to call on his next speaker. She said that there must be another world, a world that you can't get to by boat or train, but and then she launched into this song called "Over the Rainbow." That became very famous too. So that's what happened in that film, and that became very famous. So I wanted to digress a moment to tell you about this photograph. This is a photograph of Radha Ishwara, and it's a photograph that appeared on this was a record album that was printed in 1968 or 69. Yeah, sorry, 1969, and we were looking for a photograph of the deities, Radha Ishwara, in these clothes, but it was nowhere to be found. So we decided to opt for the next best thing, and we found another photograph of deities wearing kind of purplish or magenta colored clothing. And but it was due that very day, so we were and we just had already decided that that we were going to use this second best dressed group of deities. So that morning the post came, and as usual it came in a big clump. And there was one letter that came, there was no note in it. It was just a letter, an envelope that was postmarked Italy. And inside there was no letter, but there was a photograph about 4.5 centimeters square. And it was a color negative of this, the very same clothes that we were looking for. And even the lady who made these clothes didn't have a photograph of the clothes. So somehow it was a true miracle that it happened, and we got it to the Apple Corps people that the very day, and this became the cover of the recording, and it's still used today. They made a CD out of it, and it's used today. So this is what happened there, and it was a very miraculous. It was in days of yore, many miraculous things happened. This was a double LP. This was found by a person here in Marulamba. It was a very rare thing to find something that was made in 1969. But anyway, that's how it happened. So that was a little bit of interesting history about how this came to be. And Prabhupada liked the recording, even though some don't like it because it has a lot of other non-devotional instruments, like cellos and violas and harp and stuff like that. also has an organ and orchestral bells, and it's played every day in the temple. So I just thought I would give a little bit of history. I'm going to pass this around if you want to have a look at it. And just be sure I get it back before I leave, because I think it may be the only one that I can get. So that's how it went in England then at the Trident Studios, and yeah. So I'm going to read this 23rd verse again. For Empress Shatarupa lovingly gave the most valuable presents suitable for the occasion, such as jewelry, clothes, household articles, in dowry to the bride and bridegroom. So that's the end of what I wanted to say. Any comments or any questions? Yes?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Maharaj, you're passing around this beautiful album cover, and I heard that you also played an important role in the production of this album. Can you share some?
Well, in addition to being full of musicians with their parts all written out, cellos, violins, violas, harp, celestial bells, there were about 12 devotee singers, and they stood and sang, and I was like the choir director, so to speak, by default. And then I played the Hammond organ during the session. And then there were 2 or 3 other sessions later on. Drums were added and a few other things were added, but that's how it went. That was in a studio in the red light district of London, in a place called St. Anne's Alley, which is affectionately known by Londoners as Sin Anne's Alley. Because in that Soho Street area, there's illicit sex, meat eating, gambling, you just name it, it's there. It's the sin center of the city.
And what was the studio?
The studio was called Trident, T-R-I, not like the trident that Lord Shiva carries, but it was one word, Trident Studio. And a lot of famous people recorded in that studio. The Rolling Stones recorded in there, and a lot of famous people. And I think it still exists. I'm not sure, but I think it's not a recording studio now. It's something where they put together things. Yes? Pardon?
It's still there.
Still there, okay.
At least it was last year.
Pardon?
At least it was last year.
Yeah, well, that means it's probably still there.
Yeah. Was this the studio, the event with George Harrison and other Beatles? Did they participate in this recording?
George was the producer, so to speak, or the mixing agent. He mixed the recording on a big console. It was about 1.5 meters this way and about 2/3 of a meter high. And it was a very state-of-the-art recording studio in its day. He was one floor up, and he watched everything through a big plate glass and mixed all the recordings. Mridanga and kartals were played in a separate room on the ground floor, on the lower level, because the high partials of the kartals would drown out all the other instruments. So if you listen closely to the recording, you can hear it. You can hear the kartals and the mridanga, but it's mixed in such a way that it's barely audible.
And what was it like working with George? Did he give you some directions? Do like this, do like that, this mood, that mood?
Not so much. He just told us to do it, and we did it.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, we'll stop at that point. Thank you.
Jai Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki Jai, His Holiness Mukunda Goswami Maharaj ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.